Do you want to say hi? Do you want to say hello? Hello, everybody. You don't want to say hi? Faith always loves to see you. Okay, maybe not. Let me tell you about the first time I arrived at my first duty station. A staff sergeant came and picked me up. He was my NCOIC, and he brought me to our new shop. Now, this is right after I got out of training. First time I'm actually doing my real job at my actual station, and it was in Ellsworth Air Force Base, South Dakota. If you ever wonder what that's like, just picture fields of grass and nothing else. There's just nothing out there. To get to the story, it was Sergeant Bridgewater's. Bridge was a huge black guy, very cool, very laid back, very friendly, right? Comes to pick me up, takes me to the shop, introduces me to everybody, and everybody's really nice. But there's this one lieutenant, young guy. All lieutenants are young guys. I mean, they look like they're 12. But there was a young lieutenant. Just didn't seem like he had any interest in introducing himself to me. In fact, it kind of seemed like it was a pain in the butt for him. And I thought, geez, what is this guy's problem? And he was always like that to me. He was like that to everybody. But everybody sort of tolerated it. And I just kind of kept him at arm's length. I didn't care. And I remember throughout the years, a couple years, I just kind of treated him like whatever, I treated him the way he treated me. Like I could care less. And there were a couple times when a couple of my friends were like, Wheeler, you don't have to be so rude to him. And I was like, F him. If he's going to treat me that way, I don't care. Come to find out, he was transferring out, and he was going to some base in Guam or something. And I was kind of mad because, why does he get to be so lucky? And during a conversation, somebody said, well, ever since his wife died, he's kind of lost interest. He's probably going to leave the military after his commission ends. I was like, when did his wife die? And they were like, about a week before you arrived. Then the attitude made sense. I mean, it wasn't about me, but I made it about me. I met a person who was not feeling friendly, and I turned it into a bad attitude where he had something against me, where it was personal. And I let that dictate my actions for the next 2 years. And I was an asshole to him. So, referencing back to a couple videos that I made. One about how I know about the unknown. When your brain doesn't understand something, it fills in the blanks. The reason I made that video was because I wanted to be able to better explain this video. I did not know that his wife had died and he was suffering depression. The only thing I did know was that he had no interest in being perky and friendly and, ooh, yay, nice to meet you. Who would feel like that after losing somebody you love? Okay, so this kind of action goes hand in hand. There's a theory that there's a woman named Wakeman. C-Y is her first name. You Google her name, you'll find her TED Talks everywhere. She does a lot of TED Talks, mostly for people at their workplace, talking about rising above drama. She's got one called Ditch the Drama. Very good. I used it for my work life, and you'd be surprised how much time you waste on drama. not just at work, in life. I mean, the things you mull over, the time you take to read into somebody's stuff, the time you take to reply to people's stuff, and the emotional toll that it takes on you. I mean, whether you think you don't care or not, it bothers you. That's why you're addressing it. Cy Wakeman talks about 3 things that she does to help her get through things with people. Okay? When I watch her, I can see the godly woman trying to turn these ideas into a professional level of talk. So she leaves out a lot of words that pertain to faith. I'll explain. One of the things she explains is that whenever something happens to you and you're anything that happens to you that makes you feel offended or upsets you or creates drama for you, first question you should ask yourself, what are the facts? What's true? What is true? Okay? When I first arrived at that base, the only truth I knew was that this lieutenant was not super excited to meet me. He never actually said anything personally about me, to me. He never did anything to offend me. I just assumed that I should be offended because he didn't seem excited. Other than that, there was nothing else. I mean, for all I know, he could just be a naturally quiet guy. Now that I'm married to an introvert who likes to keep to himself, when he gets excited about something, the Cold Springs King, he doesn't get like me. My voice goes up 2 or 3 octaves and I'm just, big smile, and I get loud and I get animated and oh my God, and not him. I mean, for Christmas one time, he got something, I think it was a book, and he literally just kind of like expressionless, just looking through it. And what fact do I know? The truth that I knew at the moment was that he was just looking at the book. I was like, he doesn't like it. He's not excited about it. Boy, was he excited about it. After a few minutes, I finally asked him, I was like, if you don't like it, we can return it. And he was like, no, oh my God, I've wanted to read this for like a year, and I can't believe you found it. How did you find it? And then he started asking me questions, but he's very calm and very collected. And then I noticed he not only read the book immediately, but a couple weeks later, he put down the second book he started reading after it and read it again. That's his way of getting excited. Everybody has their own way, and because it's not the same as ours, we interpret it as something else, even though it's the same emotion. So, what's the one fact that I know about this lieutenant? He doesn't react excitedly about meeting new people the way I do. And therefore, my brain inserted these ideas and assumptions about him, and instead of actually coming to the correct conclusion, which in my mind was he was an asshole, I became the asshole. You see how your brain can make a complete fool out of you? Your brain can turn you into a monster if you don't step back and logically look at what's really happening. Reality is defined as what is true in the world and the things of the world that is proven. It's not necessarily what your brain thinks it is, okay? So Cy Wakeman talks about taking these facts and not looking and inserting the information and looking at it the way you would think you would. Tell yourself that you only know this and this, but you don't know what's going on this side over here. Remember that. Make yourself aware that you don't understand maybe half or more of the situation as a whole. So, what do you do next? Well, if it's something that affects you, or it's something that bothers you, instead of taking a negative approach to it, why don't you ask yourself question number 2, right? Question number 1 is what is true? Question number 2, how can I help? How can I help? Or how can I turn this around? Okay? Not all situations will require you to actually fix it, okay? There's another thing. You kind of have to remember that on the side. Sometimes it's best to just walk away and let it go. Maybe you just have to remember to yourself that, okay, instead of seeing this boss as a micromanager, maybe the boss just appreciates more details than I like to give. I'm thankful I have a great boss. He's wonderful. But maybe the server at the restaurant isn't quite being rude to you. He's just in a hurry because he's got 8 other tables and he's in a rush. He doesn't have time to stop and, how's your day? No. He's got to be like, here's your salad. You want dressing? Okay, I'll be right back. And leaves. And then some people are like, well, damn, he's not getting a tip. Why? Why not give him a tip? He brought your food right away, or think about it. So, how can I help? Helps you not only take the opportunity to turn the situation around, but it also gives you the opportunity to get more clarity for yourself. Find out more of the facts, or just assume something better than something negative. Okay? Here's an example. All right? When people call me up at work all the time, they're never in a good mood. I mean, it's usually because somebody just died. Okay? And they are usually either at a loss or life just sucks. I don't know what to do next and all this stuff. And usually they're not very friendly. Sometimes some people get downright irritated because their mother just died. They just want to get this done. There's so much going on. I don't want to sit and draw this out, drag it out. Oh my God, I've got to sign paperwork. I get it. Instead of me sitting there getting defensive, and I'm not glorifying myself. I had to learn this through the glory of God. All glory to God. Because if God had not taught me this, I don't know how I would be able to handle this job. Don't respond negatively. Don't get defensive. Don't get snarky and throw it back at them. Bring it down. In fact, try to lighten up a little bit. Tell them that's okay. I usually have to talk to them like, that's all right. Like, I'm here to help you. Okay? And I don't say things like, look, lady, I'm here to help you, so I could do without the attitude. I could totally say that anytime, many times, but I don't. Because here's a secret. For all the things that your brain inserts into a situation when it doesn't know something, somebody else's brain does the same thing. And they're very well aware of them acting like an asshole when they're acting that way toward you. They're very well aware of it. Nobody says, I'm so sorry, I didn't realize I was being an asshole. No. Most of the time they're like, I'm sorry about that. I was having a rough day. Like, I know I was being a jerk, but it was because of this. That's usually when people apologize. So when you're talking to somebody who's being that way, first of all, smile, even if it's on the phone. I know it sounds really weird, but people can literally hear you smiling over the phone, okay? And don't do it in a taunting way like, I don't care how you feel, but I'm having a great day. No, just don't be weird. Just smile and say, that's okay. Maybe I can help you do this. Use your words in a way, when you put your mind into the mode of trying to help somebody, your words change. Instead of saying, that's fine, you can do this, you say, that's all right, Peggy. That's all right, Peggy. If you want, I can help you with the paperwork and then we can file for this instead. And that's all right, Peggy. If you can't make it down to the office, would you like me to email it to you so it's easier for you? Would you like me to do this so that you don't have to make the trip? You know, you try to make them understand that you're trying to help. And when you do that, usually that other person starts to soften up a little bit. Okay, I'm being a jerk here. I need to stop thinking that this woman's just trying to waste my time and make more work for me. Because that's really not what people are usually trying to do. So, turn it around on them by asking yourself, how can I help? How can you help them? How can you make it better? Okay, whether or not they deserve it, whether or not you're obligated to do it, or whether or not you think you feel like it. I mean, try to, because in the end, when the situation turns around into something good, that's glory to God. That is worship to God. Okay, you guys talk about works and stuff. I believe that works is a display of good faith in God. Where's my Bible? The good book. Okay? In Galatians chapter 6, verse 2, share each other's troubles and problems, and in this way obey the law of Christ. If you think you are too important to help someone in need, you are only fooling yourself, and you are really a nobody. Okay? This is why. This is why you ask yourself that second question. In Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. Now it's a long one. Actually, it's the verse 3 and 4. Don't be selfish. Don't live to make a good impression on others. Be humble, thinking of others as better than yourself. Okay? Remember I said when somebody acts like a jerk and you act like a jerk in return, you just make yourself look worse. Don't think only about your own affairs, but be interested in others too and what they are doing. See, asking yourself that second question is stepping back and looking at the big picture. Because in the end, if things work out, and they usually do, both parties have a better outlook. Okay, here's the hard part. This is not a perfect world. The situation is not always going to work out in the end like, oh, it's all happy ending. No, not always. Sometimes you don't necessarily end up in a situation where you can directly work with the person that's creating the issue for you, and you are just stuck. Okay? I don't have a real perfect example of this except for my personal situation. I won't elaborate, but it's been a rough couple years for myself and the Cold Springs King. How? Well, my job has been all right. His has been very rocky. Financial situations, and we all have been through it, have been so difficult. I mean, we stopped going on vacations about 2 years ago, and we never even went on anything elaborate. We always just did 2-day trips to Tahoe. We love Tahoe. We fell in love there. You know, we got married there. And that was the place we went to for great times, and I haven't been there in almost 2 years, for a long time. And it's a little sad, but I'm not going to complain, because I still have my husband, and I still have my son, and I have my home. I have my blessings, right? But sometimes I remember when the Cold Springs King got laid off, came home early, and had to tell me that he lost the job. He didn't get fired. He lost the job. And we were already in debt. And that feeling of, what are we going to do? The bills were piling up. There was one year, I think it was September last year. Yeah, it was almost a year ago. I got pneumonia. He got sick. We were both out of work for 2 weeks. I brought my cell phone to the hospital. I was barely able to talk. I had to call the bank. I had to call companies, and water company, power company, and beg them not to shut off the power because I'm sick. I will make the payment. I'll make a double payment next month. Please, please. I don't know what else to do. The lowest part of begging is being at the mercy of someone else, and all I can do is try to be as kind as possible on the phone. Now, where is this going? Well, this is one of those situations where you can ask yourself, well, what's the truth, and how can I help? Well, now those two questions don't apply. So what do you do? You know, you have people calling you, telling you that you owe them money, and it's not their fault. They're doing their job, and you know you owe them money. And you can't sit there and ask yourself, well, what's true? How can I help this person? No, it's flipped around. You're the one that needs help. So what's the third question that helps you get through it? Suddenly the movie Heartbreak Ridge comes in. Heartbreak Ridge? Heartbreak Ridge. Is it? Clint Eastwood. Adapt and overcome. Okay? In those situations, you have to, have faith, but ask yourself, what would Christ do? I know it sounds like the little bracelets. What would Jesus do? It's a little bit like that, but a little bit different. How would you overcome? First of all, don't fall apart. Have faith. I'm sure you can think of something where you've been through worse. And if this is the worst it's ever been, then good. Get through it and know that it can only get better. Get through it and know that you can only be stronger for it. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but I'll tell you, it's a fact. There's been at least 3 times during my marriage where I thought, this man is going to walk out on us. He's going to give up. I mean, this situation was close to one of them because he started thinking and questioning his manhood. He started questioning his role as the head of this household and started saying things like, maybe you would be better off if I just left. No. Don't fall apart like that. Stay positive. Keep your faith and know there's got to be a way. Now, when you're sitting there panicking because you don't know what to do, there's when worry sets in. Step back. If you don't have a solution readily in front of you, step back. Give yourself an hour. Give yourself 3 hours, a day. I know sometimes it seems like things have to get done now. But if somebody's calling on the phone, tell them, be like, look, just tell them honestly, I need help. I don't have the money. I know you need to be paid. I just can't pay it right now. May I please make a few calls and call you back tomorrow? Sometimes God needs time to make you aware of the solution, but it doesn't readily come to you like on a silver platter, just like that. You have to give it time, and sometimes you'll see how things fall together. If it had happened on day one, you wouldn't have gotten the money because it wasn't payday. It had to wait 2 days until the check, and oh my God, you suddenly got a bonus. Who knows? Blessings Blessings sometimes come unexpectedly. Sometimes you need to call them back and speak to the right person. Instead of calling them in an hour and talking to Joe, who's just like, no, I'm sorry, you have to pay. I'm sorry, your account's going to go delinquent. I'm sorry. And he's not sorry. You could tell. But if you call 6 hours later when Jill is on shift and Jill has that attitude, how can I help? And you tell her, I know I need to pay. I can't. And it, what would Christ do? He'd be honest and he'd be real. Tell Jill, I want to pay this off. I just can't. But don't get blubbery. Don't fall apart. Stay above it. And you know that you can do it. And then you'll find Jill will be like, you know what? Let's see how we can help. I'll put a note in the account and da-da-da-da-da. Call back next week and just keep us posted, and I'll keep the notes in here so it doesn't go into collections. Okay. Then overcome. That's adapt, overcome. What can you do to take care of this? There's something that you can do. You know there is. If somebody dies in the family and you don't think you can, oh my God, no, there is something you can do. People make it through deaths every day. In my case, I see them go through it 3 to 5 times a day. That's a lot of people dying. But yet, all these families find a way to push through. Cars break down. Jobs get lost. Children get in trouble. Things break. Things fail. The point is, you don't fail. Stay above it and ask yourself what the path of Christ would look like. What would he want you to do? How can you carry yourself in a moment of dire diversity, dire need? Know that if you have him behind you, you're going to be okay. Because later on, when you get past it, the people that were involved will remember you for the strong person you were. It builds your credibility, and on top of that, you will remember that you have overcome harder things later on in life. Things will come at you and you'll be like, shit, I've been through worse than this. And here I am. Because in the end, if the devil can break you, he can take you. Don't let him. Ask yourself what's true. Don't fill in negative information just because you don't know what's really going on. Ask yourself how you can help. Fill that information in with something positive, a positive possibility, and turn it around. And if all those fail, ask yourself what Christ would do. How would he prevail? Because if you follow his path, you'll prevail too. I know this sounded like a lecture, and I don't know everything. But through the things I've been reading and studying, and it's been on my heart, this is my experience. It'll either help you guys or bore you to death. I don't know. But that was the message I wanted to put forth. I will put a link for Cy Wakeman's lecture. Understand that it's not about faith. It's more about ditching drama in the workplace, but it's good, and she's sincere. I like her. And Watch it, and you'll see what I mean. But I turned it into a thing of faith because I lean on the rock, and if you do too, there's no situation you can't get through. And in the long run, it will save you a ton of drama, a ton of time, and a ton of heartache. Believe me. All right, guys. Gonna finish enjoying my coffee, my day off, and enjoy my day, because why should I let anybody ruin it, right? I love you guys. I hope you all are loving each other. Stay freaking salty.